Well guys, I have an unboxing video for you. This video is of the Canon PowerShot elph 520HS. Of course, I purchased this camera to replace my current vlogging camera, which I've been using, the Flip Ultra HD Generation 3. Now, what drew me to this camera, of course, was the size of the camera, for one. Two, it shoots in full 1080p, HD, right? And, well, hey, it was a nice, wonderful blue color. Well, guys, I'll show you the price point of the camera here. It was $259 on sale at our local electronics retailer. So we'll pop this box open here. Opening her on up, exposing, of course, the software installation disc, as well as all your wonderful user guides, both for the Canon PowerShot, elph 520HS, and the IXUS 500HS, which I'm assuming is virtually the same camera. So once you got all this wonderful paper stuff out of the way, pull up the cardboard flap here, and you expose all the goodies themselves. And yes, if you're wondering, I have been into this camera already. I have been using this camera now for probably a good week and a half, 2 weeks. So I have gotten a bit of a feel for the camera, a bit of a, I guess you could say, pros and cons of the camera. So right here you have a USB cord, of course. You got your standard USB port right here, and then the micro one for the camera itself. And you have your standard, what do you want to call it, cylinder looking shaped battery. It's the it is the NB-9L battery. Now, of course, in your electronics retailer, they should sell replacement batteries for these. If not, then they do carry them online that you can pick up anywhere, ranging in price from like very, very, very cheap to very, very reasonable, to, of course, over the deep end as well. So we'll set the battery toward the side, and the next thing to come out is the battery charger itself. Of course, it's your standard, Canon labeled battery charger. It has your battery slot here, which you put your battery into charge. Of course, paying attention to the little prongs here. You don't want to be bending them, breaking them, or even something as simple as not connecting the battery properly. And on the back you have your standard US Canada 2-prong plug. And you have your lanyard as well. I'd recommend attaching the lanyard to the camera, just to keep it from happening to falling out of your hands while you're vlogging, walking, taking pictures, whatever. Because we all know how well cameras fare once they're dropped from a height, right? Now, in this one here that I bought from our electronics store, it happened to be a bonus pack. So it came with its own 4 gig micro SD card, as well as your standard SD card size adapter. Which of course I quickly changed out to a larger SD card, just to have the maximum storage space that I could. And of course, guys, what you've been waiting for, the piece de resistance, the Canon PowerShot elph 520 itself. Of course, right here on the overview, you have your shutter and your, iris itself and all that business end of it. You got your flash over to here. You have your SD card port, you have your battery port, you have your tripod mount. And yes, I do like this because I know it is a metal I know it is a metal threads inside here, but it's a lot better than the plastic ones, as say like the Sony's had that I ran anyway. Up on the top here you have your standard review button. Does both for footage as well as pictures. You have your your picture mode going from auto to picture. You have your on-off button, as well as your shutter release button here. And on the back, it is an interesting setup. It's a little bit cumbersome until you get the hang of it, but it is kind of a 4-place toggle type of system going on here. And guys, so of course, like most cameras you purchase off the shelf, they've sat there for a little bit. Maybe possibly the batteries weren't fully charged when they got here. So you stick the battery in the charger. One thing I like is this charger has a handy little hint where you line the arrows on the battery to the arrows in the charger. Slide her on in, and pretty much away she goes. Flip out your prongs and give her a good old plug into the wall. Now I found this battery takes about 45 minutes to an hour to charge. When the cameras run right down to the flashy little light that's telling you to recharge soon, it takes about 45 minutes. If it's stone dead to the point where the camera won't turn on, at least with my battery, it takes an hour. Now this battery here is a 870 milliamp hour battery. Now they do make them lower, and they do make them in higher milliamps. So I'd recommend, of course, you getting a second battery regardless of what you're going to do with the camera. Any amount of use, and you're going to need her. Because the battery life on this camera is about anywhere from between 45 minutes to about an hour of use before you have to remove and replace this battery. So guys, of course, we'll give the battery a charge and then we'll do the operations check on the camera. So guys, once the battery's charged, you pop open this little side door, pretty much located straight down from the flash. And of course, paying attention to the curve on the battery bay, you slide on in the battery, lock the little orange tab down, flip the door shut, and away she goes. And of course, again, pretty much just straight down from the Canon logo, there's a little door on the bottom. You flip that on open, and you got your micro SD port. Now the downside, of course, with this camera is it does take a micro SD card, which many of us do not have an abundant supply of these because of our other cameras would take the full-size SD cards. So that, of course, is one of the drawbacks to this camera. So we'll stove in our 16 gig SD card and then give her a shot. And pretty much we're ready to power on the device. So pressing the wonderful on-off button, you can power on the device. And away she goes. So guys, we'll start by setting the time by hitting the menu button. Going on down to, you got your digital zoom. You can do your different settings and all your face detects and all that you want to have going on. You got your flash settings if you want to get into doing, different, you have a wind filter going on here that helps if you're doing vlogging outside to block the wind, which of course is a must. One thing I found neat is this has blink detection, so if you're trying to do group photos, where of course there's someone always blinking or something, it'll actually alert you that there's someone blinking, and it'll wait until it's clear to take the photo. So you go over from the photo settings into the camera settings itself. You can set if you want the volume, like as in if you want the volume on or off to mute. You can set the volume sounds and stuff if you want to make the volume up if you're using in darker conditions, or louder conditions where you need to have, you know, a bit of a cue going on. You know, there's hints and tips, LCD brightness. If you're vlogging, you don't really need to have a full brightness, so you can turn it down and save on battery life, or you can crank it up. You know, if you're shooting, you know, pictures and stuff, then you kind of need to see what you're shooting at, right? So you scroll down a little bit more and you can control the startup image from the Canon image like this here to the HS system image. I'm going to leave it on the Canon image just because I can. Now what I found with my other cameras is over time the SD card would hold on to a little sliver of information, and eventually your camera or your SD card would go from holding we'll say 3 hours of video down to 86 minutes. I had one do that, a nice 16 gig card. It ended up holding from 2 hours down to nothing hardly. Well, you got a format thing here which actually will go in and erase the whole SD card and kind of bring it right back to as if it was brand new out of the package. Now, of course, you want to make sure you have all your video and pictures off of this already, because if you don't, you will lose all your info. So you scroll down a little bit more. You can, you know, set your files, whether you want them named or numbered or anything like that. You can create folders every month if you're keeping info on the SD card. You can set the lens retract so the lens comes in if you're shooting video after a minute. You can set your time zone, and down here you have your date and time, which we're going to set currently. So right now we're sitting in November, so we're going to set her for November. Scroll over and we're at the beginning part of November here, so we're going to set her for our current date, which is the 2nd. And of course she is 2012. And you can even set the time on here if you want to be as well. And on your pictures too, if you're wanting, you can put yourself a timestamp on it as well. And when you're done, you press the function set button here and it kind of finalizes everything. You have a function here, control via HDMI. You can enable or disable it. That allows you to control the camera with a remote if you're doing, we'll say shutter photography where you're in front of the camera, or even video photography where, just say you have it on a camera, a dash mount of your vehicle, and you want to shut it off without having to reach across to do it. You can enable it there. Now, of course, next one down is all the wonderful languages. And of course, you have just right off the top, you have English, you know, French, Dutch, German, you have Danish, Italian, a bunch of other ones. And of course, I'm sure Korean, Chinese, Taiwanese, all those other languages in here as well. So it is a multilingual camera if you are interested in that kind of thing. Scroll down again. If you scroll down again, and you can restore default settings to as if it was right out of the factory box, eh? So guys, now we got her pretty much all you know, set up and all that. We can go back and do an operations check outside with it, take a few photos, shoot a little bit of video, and then I'll come back and do my final thoughts on the camera. Well guys, here we are outside, going to do a video test of the Canon, you know, PowerShot 520 camera here. Of course, the sun is going down. We're sitting right about 4:30 or so in the afternoon, so it is a it's not a highlight, but it's not a low light. It's kind of that in-between light. By far not dusk yet. But as you just kind of cast around the yard, you see the different shadows, different you know, colors and all that of the yard. And yes, we did have our first snowfall the other day, so you also have the contrast of the snow and all that. But
One thing I like about this camera over the Sony, whatever it was, DSC 2000 that I had, is you are able to zoom with the camera while you are taking, you know, video, which is definitely kind of nice. Because the Sony, you found when you did that, the Sony, once you pressed record, you know, the Sony wouldn't allow you to, you know, do that. I got to look in the instruction book a little more for some more information on the camera. But yeah, guys, we'll just do a little tour around the yard here, doing testing out the image stabilization and a few things like that. You know, this is the marathon trailer here, different colors. Of course, this is my 2008 Pontiac Wave. It hasn't moved in a while now, but well, it's been probably close to 2 weeks, 3 weeks now, but that's the way she goes on that one for now. And just like every other camera review I've done, you know, we just cut a lap around the yard here, and you know, you see the truck and all that. And one thing it does do here is if you see a picture you want to take, it takes a picture, but the only drawback is it does shut off the video recording feed. So when you do it, you need to pretty much make sure you press the record button again, or you'll lose your, I guess, you know, shot you're trying to get, because it doesn't like continuous function, you know. But guys, of course, let's go back inside and we'll do a bit of a rundown on the functions and a few things like that, and then we'll do a low light test once it starts getting a bit darker. Well guys, here we are in a, I don't know, pretty much what you'd want to call a low light or a no light type of situation. Just going to do a scan across the backyard here. You see she's pretty much dark, and the only light in the yard is from the porch light behind me here, as you can, you know, kind of see. And the camera, at least on the view screen, is better than some of the other cameras I've pointed out in the yard like this. But we'll have to see what the footage takes, you know, when you get there. I'm going to snap a couple of photos here of the backyard. Of course, the flash will compensate for the darkness difference. But yeah, so let's see how she goes from there.
So guys, just got back in, as you've seen, from shooting the operation check of this camera. Taking a few photos in the daylight, taking a few, you know, in the night, in the dark, in the, you know, videos in the daylight and the dark as well. On a scale of 1 to 10, for me, personally, I would probably give this camera a good 9. The draw point for me, of course, as I stated in the beginning part, was the micro SD card themselves. I have probably 10 or 15 SD cards ranging from, like, you know, 4 gig to 8 gig to 16 to 32 gig. And I pretty much have to go and rebuy all those cards again just to have, you know, this camera. Now, one of the other things I found as a drawback for the, you know, cons as well, if you will, is the battery life. As I mentioned, it's only about 45 minutes, give or take. Depends on how much you use the zoom and the functions and all that for the camera. Another thing I found is with it, the pictures are okay. They're not really crisp compared to a, you know, an expensiver DSLR camera, of course you can't compare a little 10.1 megapixel point and shoot camera to, you know, one of the professional grade you know, cameras as well, right? But some of the pros of this, of course, is the sleek and compact design, which is great compared to what it's replacing, which is the Sony you know, CyberShot DSC 2000. As you kind of get here in a comparison, this one is thinner and it is smaller as well. And one of the pros, like I said there in the unboxing portion, was it does shoot in full HD 1080p, which is excellent for a point and shoot camera of this you know, caliber. It's actually, for me, my first point and shoot that would shoot in 1080p. I went straight from using the Sonys to pretty much using the flip cameras. Now the Sonys weren't HD by far, and the flip only shot for me in 720. Now on a scale of 1 to 10 in comparisons to the other cameras I own, this one here probably rates right up underneath my Panasonic camera that I have, the camcorder I have. And really the only difference between them, in my point of view, is the size themselves, and this is more of a vlogging style of camera. Now I would recommend you guys probably picking yourselves up a leather case or any type of a carrying case for this camera. Of course, this one here just happens to be the Canon brand. But if you go online to one of those wonderful auction websites, you can pick up a carrying case ranging anywhere from like $3.99 all the way up to $49.99 for some of the more executive type of deluxe cases. Reason why I would recommend is it does protect the camera from getting scratches. It does protect the camera well in your pocket, and it will help protect the screen. As well, I found online while I was digging around for a case is screen protectors as well. Just like your cell phone, just like any other thing with an LCD screen, they will get scratched sliding in and out of your pocket, in and out of a case. So it is recommended to protect your investment, if you will, with a screen protector. You know, one of the cons, I guess, I could add too, is it would have been nice to have seen it to come with a second battery in it, especially for, you know, the price point themselves. But of course, with that, you know, they'd probably have to jack the price up another $30 to make profit on the battery. So that just gives you the chance to go online and to hunt around for a, you know, replacement battery or a secondary battery when the time comes, right? But guys, like I said, this has been an unboxing and review and operations check of a Canon PowerShot ELPH 520. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you know, send me a PM, leave them in the comments below. Anything, you know, tips or anything on this camera that I didn't touch on, you know, being a new user and all, feel free to share them. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching this video, and as always, thanks for watching Maxwell's World. Comment, subscribe, and enjoy.